Hi, everybody. I'm Andrea True Joy Fox, your host for Talks with a Fox podcast. I am so happy you have joined me on this journey of self-discovery, where I will share stories and lessons that I have learned through my journey as a teacher, as an artist, as a Blackfoot woman, and as a human being. I will also be sharing my conversations with some amazing human beings that I have met who are living inspirational lives and leading with purpose as they share their gifts with the world. Now get ready to be inspired, to feel connected, and to dream big as you grow your goals and reflect on your own journey in this exciting place called life. So grab a coffee or a tea and join our conversation here in the Fox Den for Talks with a Fox podcast, where we will share stories, laughter, and inspiration. Today is super special because Jacqueline Ahcakoskwew, who is one of my forever friends, will be interviewing me for my very first episode, Interview with a Blackfoot Woman. I wanted all of you wonderful listeners to gain an insight into who I am, where my journey started, and most of all, why I created this podcast. Jacqueline has been part of my journey in friendship, teaching, and sisterhood. She is my soul sister. How are you, Dunze, Jacqueline?
Niistitapiyaakii talks with a fox. I am doing miyasen very good. I am very excited to be a part of this show and to kick off your podcast. Yay! Go Blackfoot woman!
So what are we doing today, Jacqueline?
Well, today we're going to interview you, and I'm going to ask you a set of questions so that the public, your listening audience, can really know who is Talks with a Fox. And I'm very excited to be the one to ask you all these questions and be the chosen one. Hi, I'm chosen. So, Miss Fox Talks with a Fox, where are you from and where is home for you?
Well, first of all, before I answer that question, I just have to say I feel like suddenly I'm back in the classroom only as the student and you're the teacher giving me a pop quiz question. So
Yes.
I will do my best.
Oh, I know you'll answer it as always.
Well, I come from the Blackfoot Nation. I'm from part of the Blackfoot Confederacy. I was raised in Agana, which means many chiefs, also known as the Blood Tribe, located in what is now today known as Southern Alberta. However, it is part of the traditional Blackfoot territories. And that's where I grew up. I grew up in the community of Old Agency, and that is where my parents continue to reside. And I believe that will always be home for me. You know, I've lived in different places and a couple of different cities, and I've traveled lots.
And
But home,
where are you currently living?
I'm currently in the exciting, windy city known as Lethbridge. And the Blackfoot word for that is Sikuhkaduk, which means black rocks.
Oh, I think I heard some wind. Yes, it is very windy there.
Don't blow away, okay?
I always had to hold on to something over there. So how do you say Blackfoot in your language?
Siksiga. That's the Blackfoot word for Blackfoot. That's also the name of one of our sister tribes, Siksiga.
Yes, it is. I worked at Siksiga. And so what does being Blackfoot mean to you? And that would be weird calling you Siksiga, because you're like, how do you identify yourself?
I identify myself as a Niistitapiyaakii, which means Blackfoot woman. And that's the core of who I am. I believe that being Blackfoot means many things for all Blackfoot people. I'm on my own self-discovery journey, which is part of my lifelong learning journey about who I am and fulfilling my purpose in this world. Being Blackfoot is understanding and learning about the Blackfoot values and how I was raised. I was raised closely with the elders. My parents used to always have them come over on the weekends, and my siblings and I would sit and listen while they told us stories and taught us things and helped us understand more about our culture as Blackfoot people and Blackfoot youth. So I'm really grateful that I had that time to spend with our elders, and still do to this day. But several of these elders that we spent time with have moved on into the other world, and so I forever carry their teachings and their voices and their spirits with me wherever I go. And I'm grateful that, my parents have helped provide that foundation. Of course, when you're a teenager and you're sitting there listening, it's quite hard to focus, and, you have your mind and your interests on other things, and, you want to spend time with your friends and do things that are fun. But,
Oh, do I know it?
uh-huh. um, but I'm really, I have a lot of appreciation now in my adult years for my parents providing us with that time with our elders, and to sit there and listen and learn from them. And, when I became a teacher, I found myself pulling from those teachings. It's like suddenly it was all coming back to me as I became in the role of a teacher. And so those teachings and values I carry with me today, and they continue to help me through my own healing journey and my own self discovery journey, and really my lifelong learning journey for as long as I'm on this earth.
Yes, it's that time, for we as the Indigenous people to um, really show others what we have to offer, and we can only do that by knowing and learning and being a part of these teachings that were passed on to us for sure. So we met in
Mm-hmm.
university, you and I, and we did the education program. We had some very interesting courses together. And so today, here we are. This is what, 12 years later, 11, 12 years later. Now, what are you doing today? Like, what's your, what type of work are you doing? I know you're not teaching anymore. So what exactly are you doing now?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I can definitely remember when we met and how quite a interesting experience that was. And I believe it was a drama class that we took together, and quickly became good friends, and traveled to one of our historical Blackfoot sites, riding on stone, and we took a good couple of photos. And I look back on that time, and I think about where I was at the time, what I was doing in my personal life, and as I was continuing to grow into my professional life, which led me to teaching. um, you're one of the people that comes to mind, when I first started my teaching journey in the classroom. And I'm just want to say I'm so grateful that we've been able to continue to be friends and now sisters, and we share these journeys that we're both on, and it's great. It's really wonderful.
We
And
had an immediate connection. Our
yes.
energy just synced with each other and flowed, and it was so natural. It's like a
Mhm.
homecoming, right? Being with each
Yes.
other, and we've
Yes.
remained connected since. It's like yesterday. It's
Mhm.
great. Like, I hope
Mhm.
everybody can enjoy relationships like this. And look at this, Blackfoot and Cree. Hey, who would have ever thought? We are like Palmaker and Crowfoot.
We are, we buried the hatchet, and here we are.
We buried all our guns at the tree, like the
Yes.
Haudenosaunee did.
And, we might have pulled out a few arrowheads, but
They were made of rubber, no big deal.
but yeah, these kind of relationships, I'll speak as a woman and as a Niistitapiyaakii, a Blackfoot woman, they're so important to how we navigate throughout this world, that sisterhood and that matriarchy, having that connection with other women and supporting each
Oh,
other and
absolutely. Absolutely.
laughing like with
Yes.
you and I
Oh, we
just,
need each other. We do need
yes,
each other.
we do.
I mean, we
And
need men too, but we need more our sister connection, right?
yes. But it's important. And you and I, we have that. And I just wanted to honor that and speak to that. Um, And so where I am today is, I've had quite an exciting, colorful journey, different challenges, trials, and tribulations throughout the teaching world. I've been teaching for over 10 years, and I had the joy of teaching kindergarten all the way up through to grade 12 and different subjects, and did some guest lecturing at the university as well, getting to work with adult learners, which is quite interesting and different from working with children and youth. Um, and so I've also had a colorful experience working in administration. It happened a lot sooner than I thought it would. I thought, well, maybe when I'm in my 40s or 10 more years down the line, I'll move into administration and learn about the exciting and challenging world of working in leadership. However, I was able to experience that a little bit sooner in my career and definitely learned a lot about that working as a district principal. And where I am today is I'm continuing on my education journey. I'm working on my Master of Arts, multidisciplinary focus, and combining my arts background and my education background and doing research in that area. Currently working with a team of researchers, Indigenous researchers, and non-Indigenous researchers on Blackfoot artifacts and looking at developing curriculum around that for schools and students and other
That
educators to
that
access.
must be so exciting. Must be
You know
so
what?
exciting.
It is, because when everybody hears the word research, immediately sometimes you think, okay, how exciting is
Yeah,
that? You're
exactly
sitting
right.
there,
Word,
you're
word.
yeah, I don't have to, it's pretty self-explanatory. Um, but what I want to say is it has allowed me to have opportunities to learn even more about my culture, my histories, where I come from, and my ancestors, and the stories that are attached to these beautiful objects that represent our ways of living and our ways of being as Niitsitapi. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm able to be in an opportunity where I will be going out and sharing these understandings with children and youth and other people of Blackfoot descent and others who are interested in learning about that
How
history,
honorable
those
is
histories.
that? How
Yeah,
honorable is that? You get
I
to,
pinch myself.
yeah, you get to show people like the world. This is my people. This is what we did, and this is who we were. And look at us today. We're still here,
Yes,
right?
yes, absolutely.
That's you're where you're meant to be. You are where you're
Mm,
meant to be.
thank you.
That's
Thank
amazing.
you.
So I want to know what's inspired you to do this podcast.
You were a big part of that. I just want to put that on the table.
I'm a bad influencer. What can I say?
Yes, here we are. Oh my gosh. Look where you led us.
Creator sent me down here just for this to just say, hey, people, you
Mhm.
need to be doing this.
Well, that is 100% true, because I look at the things that you're doing and the incredible work you're doing with our children and youth, our young people, and what that has inspired within them, and how you've continued to nurture your students and those that cross your path. So you are doing exactly what you are meant to do. And so when you and I had some conversations last year and through this past winter, you may recall I was thinking out loud, it'd be great to have a podcast. I think you should have a podcast, Jackie, or it would be great to have our conversation shared because you and I talk about a lot of things and, there's always something
We are all over the map.
interesting.
We are just
We
like
are.
we're women of all colors and races and everything, right? Including our own
There's,
self, right?
right? There's the grandmother voices that come out and our Oprah moments and
Our
our inner
cooker
child comes
moments.
out. And of course our warrior woman, who's always there. And so these conversations that you and I have had and continue to have had me thinking, and how it'd be so enriching to just share what our experiences as women, as Native women, and then I started reflecting on the different people who've crossed my path, and I have met some really amazing people along the way of teaching and being a performing artist as well as a visual artist. And it's been amazing, the people that I've met along the way, and I think about their stories and how inspired I have felt from them and how they are movers and shakers in this world and part of those change makers as well. And I thought it would be so great to sit down with these people. Many of them have become my friends and just share their stories.
Our
And
voices need to be heard so much in so many different
yes.
mediums, and there's a call for it. There's a need for it. There's a call for it, and thanks for stepping up to this call because
Mhm.
I'm really hoping that people tune in and get something out of your conversations, and that will enrich their lives, and who knows, maybe transform their past to become what they're meant to be, just like all that you've done to that is directly related into your identity as a Niistitapiyaakii. Did I say that wrong?
You were close.
Pakiaki.
Niistitapiyaakii.
Piaki, okay. Yes.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it is needed. And I've had many conversations with, my relations about needing that Indigenous woman, that strong Indigenous woman, that good, gentle yet strong Indigenous woman to come out and share and be there for other women in different forums. And this is perfect, right? Just perfect.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So, what do you want your listeners to know when listening to your awesome voice?
Well, I hope I can make them laugh. I mean, I think I'm pretty funny. You laugh at my jokes.
Just natural.
I hope and believe that they will learn something from the stories that are shared on this podcast. And I will be sharing my own stories. There will be different themes that I will be talking about, from my teaching journey to my journey as a little Blackfoot girl growing up, and all the adventures that I've been on, and um, stories from my guests who will talk about what led them to find their purpose and how they're fulfilling their purpose in this world, to feel inspired, to feel connected, to have understandings around different topics that and things that people are doing in this world that others may not know about or may have always wondered about or are just thinking about getting into, and then walking away feeling like, hey, you know what, I can do that.
So,
And I
if you were to summarize it in one statement, what do you want your listeners to get from your podcast?
I want them to feel inspired, informed,
Inspired,
and
informed,
excited
and
about
excited.
life.
I love it. I love it. So, if you were to get a guest in your show to give all three, who would that be? Your dream guest?
I would love to have Cindy Blackstock on, Dr. Cindy Blackstock.
Oh
I would love to have her on.
I would replay that podcast too many times over. Like, seriously.
Yeah,
I'd be
I
there.
think I would.
I'd be sharing her all over the map, the social media map.
I would probably be pinching myself constantly to be, present and feeling like, is this really happening? Because my sister had the honor of having lunch with her and meeting with her and listening to one of her talks at the university. And that's how I learned about Cindy Blackstock. And I started to hear more about her after that. And my dad also having worked in social work for many, many years in our communities and still is, providing supports for Indigenous families and communities in social work. The work that she's done is just amazing. And she's one of my heroes. And to sit down with her and just absorb her wisdom and her power as a woman and as a Native woman.
She's like an Indigenous transformer. So you know the move, that big flick, Transformers. Yeah, she's like one of them. But Indigenous design, right? Indigenous woman. She'll just like,
Amen to that.
So you're a teacher.
Yes.
We all have our most memorable teaching moment. What's yours? Just one. Just give me your biggest, lowest one. What was the first one that struck your brain?
My first day teaching high school.
Ooh,
I had just finished my first year of teaching, and that was kindergarten. So you can see the leap from 5-year-old
kindergarten to high school.
Yes. Whoa. They threw me to the wolves.
Superwoman. Super teacher.
Yeah, so if anyone wants to talk about superpowers, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, you got it. You got skills.
I have earned my badge.
I could just see you in the high school class. Okay, children. 1, 2, 3. It's like,
look at me. Crisscross applesauce.
All the things we teach them in kindergarten to get their attention.
Oh, yes. You find out quickly that adolescents have a whole language that is,
it's totally different.
Okay, so my first day of teaching high school, I've got the classroom set up, I've got the perfect lesson plans, there's no such thing, side note there.
Looks good in writing.
Exactly. And I have myself standing there ready to greet them. I didn't have cookies or apple juice, but I had a great big smile on my face. Okay. And they all come in to the classroom and, they're loud and talking and probably super excited to see each other because, they're just back from summer break. And I'm super excited. I've got all my great ideas, big, bright ideas ready to go for the year. And they walk in. I'm standing there by my desk because it's close to the door. And the bell goes. And they're still talking. Nobody's taken a seat yet. And some of them are moving around in the classroom and it's a super loud moment. And I'm standing there and I'm just observing for a moment. Okay. Looking at all these new faces and these are going to be my people for the year. And let's get to it. So I move to the front of the class when I think everybody's come in that's supposed to be in the classroom and try, to command their attention. And I don't remember exactly what I said, but, I obviously said something along the lines of, "Good morning, Idamixkanatani," because these were Blackfoot youth. And I said, "Good morning" in Blackfoot. And I'm Miss Fox. If you can all take a seat, find a seat there, we can get started. And some of them look at me and, I'm thinking, okay, they heard me. They're going to, take a moment and sit down and let's get started. That doesn't happen. They continue carrying on and talking, and it's almost as if I'm not standing there, And for a moment, I'm thinking, okay, do they see me? I'm pretty tall, so I don't think they can miss me.
How tall are you?
I'm just under 6 feet. I'm like 5'11 3/4, I believe. But I like to wear heels, so I like to get up there
So
nice and
you're
high.
taller than 6 feet then. Be honest.
Yes.
Now you put those heels on and you're like,
Hey,
hmm,
I'm a Blackfoot woman. We're tall.
yes, you are.
And yeah, so they carry on, and I have to raise my voice to get their attention again and introduce myself again, big-eyed and big smile, and looking as friendly as possible. And finally, they get started and everything. But here's the funny thing. This was one of my drama classes, and later on in the year when we're talking about first impressions and what people think of you, it's one of the very fun, exciting drama exercises, which all about, that I do with the students. And some of them gave me their first impressions of me, and they said that first day of school, when we came into your classroom, we thought you were a student. So we were kind of wondering, who is this new student and why are they trying to tell us what to do?
Well, you do look very young. Like you got a baby face, girl.
Thank you.
I could totally see that. I'm probably just looking at you. So why is this being so bossy here? Hola.
Yeah. And I'm new. So they're like, wow, she's got a lot of nerve. She must be great.
Ignore her. Trying to talk Blackfoot. Didn't even say it right. Itamikskanotani. You realize it took me months to be able to say that word. I practice regularly. It took me so long.
Oh, yes. Well, one could almost mistake you for being Blackfoot.
Well, I did hang out there for quite a while.
Mhm.
That was awesome. I could totally see that. So what
Yeah.
inspired you to get into education?
My mom was a teacher, and it's funny because when I was little, I was super shy, like paralyzing shy. Just, I didn't like to speak
That's
up.
hard to
And
believe. You are lying, girl. Girl, you lie. You lie. Anybody who meets Andrea, she's like Miss Socialite.
Hey, you bring that out in me. What can I say?
You bring that in me.
Once upon a time, I was shy and quiet and little.
It's like, yeah, sure. Keep talking.
So I looked up to people who had confidence and who were very certain of who they were and could stand in front of the classroom and command attention and be able to teach, to share knowledge. And my mom was somebody I looked up to and growing up, and I would go with her to her classroom. If I was sick, I didn't stay home. I would go to school, but with her, and I would see all the wonderful connections she had with her students and the warmth that was in her classroom and the way that kids would just be so alive and excited to learn. And I wanted to be part of that. And I wanted to be able to do that when I grew up. So
So that was your teacher?
my parents are my first teachers. So yeah, she was definitely a big part of inspiring me to become a teacher. And although, of course, it's one thing to want to do something and it's another to do it and find out that you actually love doing it. And I love teaching because I get to learn with my students
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's
and I get to
very.
make connections with all sorts of interesting human beings.
Well, I have to say, teaching's not for everybody,
Hmm.
and those who go into it, it's usually something that calls them to go into it, and
Yes.
it's um, it is so dynamic. It is always changing. It is always flowing, and when you immerse yourself into it completely as an educator, it's you learn that, and it's
Hmm.
easy to keep your passion about it when you're keeping it alive by allowing yourself to be a student as well, right?
Hmm. Yes. Well, you know all about that. I mean, you have made some super strong, solid connections with many of the students you have taught. And I see how connected you are to many of them, even after they have graduated and moved on to other things in their young adult lives.
Well, I guess I have an affinity towards youth. I'm not sure why. It's just something that's always been in me. So yeah, I feel like it's my calling to work specifically with this demographic of our students, right? And it's where my
Hmm.
career has brought me as well.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
So, what do you hope to achieve in while working as an educator or in education in general? Right now, you're in a different capacity, but still educating, right?
Yes. Well, my hope is to always be able to contribute, to share what I have learned, and to continue learning and to assist and support and nurture the learning journey of others, whether it's children, youth, adults, just different people that I know I will continue to cross paths with, and also to continue to advance the understandings of who Niistitapiyaakii are, who Native people are, Indigenous people, who we are. And there's so much power and beauty in our cultures, and there is so much that the world is learning and can continue to learn about making this world a better place by understanding needs it to be perspectives, native
Oh,
perspectives.
I totally agree. Absolutely agree. Like looking through our lenses is it brings a whole different perspective, and it's rooted in something that is beyond the physical. It's spiritual. It's deep. It goes
Hmm.
underground, and it grounds you, and it brings you into another space and time, literally, and place. Within
Hmm.
yourself. It's something that you have to experience. Like it's very difficult to be able to capture through words and dialogue. It's just being in it, right? And you can feel it. It's like going to
Hmm.
ceremony, right?
Yes. Yes, you have to experience it to understand it and to know it
Yeah,
and to be able to teach it.
yeah, exactly. So, what's the biggest factor that has helped you to be successful? Because it's hard. Like getting into education, post secondary studies. It's a grueling, tough road that many aren't. That some do not succeed. Maybe many. I mean, looking at I'm reflecting back on my college and university experiences and looking at the high numbers of Indigenous students at the beginning of a term. And then 1 to 2 months into the term, there's less brown faces in classrooms and hallways. So this is the retention level of Native students within these institutions because it's tough. It is so tough at many levels.
Hmm.
So what was bigger factor for you that helped you to be successful? Because I know that for you, the U of L was right beside your home, but it's still challenging, right?
Hmm. Absolutely. There's there's those challenges that you just spoke to about, it doesn't stop after high school. The different challenges we face as Native people when we wherever we go, and in this case in education, the challenges continue and at post-secondary level and in many capacities. For me, it was what a big part that has contributed to my success has been support. Having that support is so key to any person who is, pursuing a goal, in this case, post secondary at the university level. My family was an incredible support source of support. My parents and my siblings,
Mm.
just, being able to lean on someone when I needed to and talk to someone. And through my teaching journey, my mom had been very supportive in the fact that she was a teacher and she has had her journey in working in education, being able to call her and she would have that understanding of,
Mm-hmm.
she would know what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I didn't even have to tell her this is what exactly happened. Sometimes all I would tell her was I had a tough day, and she would understand.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to have your your support, and then it's even more wonderful to have someone who has actually, worked in a similar capacity. And it may not always be family. I know for a lot of us, we have different sources of support. We have, mentors. We have
Oh yeah, it's all
colleagues.
kinds, right?
We have,
Friendships,
yeah,
everything, right? Like fellow
friendships.
students that you meet and you develop
Yes.
that connection with, and
Hmm. And
yeah.
then, of course, just seeing my desire to achieve my goal, which at the time was to complete my university degree and become a teacher. Just believing in myself, and even in those hard moments, knowing that I had what it took to get me to that point, and to know and believe that I have what it takes to get me to the next point.
Mm-hmm.
That belief in yourself, even when you have those moments of doubt or you second guess yourself, or
Okay, so
you,
question.
yes,
So seeing
yes.
other indigenous people within within the institution, did that inspire you? Did you feel something a little extra in your mind, heart, or spirit when you visually see them in halls or in classrooms?
Oh, yes, absolutely. It's so important that we see ourselves where we go, even in media. It's so important to see and recognize there are those of us, others out there who are doing stuff and who
Because
are,
it takes a lot to actually go into these institutions as a native indigenous person.
it does.
It
It
is a
takes a
lot.
lot
It takes a lot.
financially
Oh,
alone,
oh,
you're
in so
you're
many different
surviving,
ways. Yes.
you know, you're surviving, trying to make your rent. You're surviving to make sure you have groceries for the week and you can keep your lights on, and you're surviving in transportation to get to the university. And when you get there, you're surviving
Your
as
noodle
maybe
soup
the
meals.
one, yeah, or the one,
Ichiban.
or exactly.
Banak.
And then
Banak
you're,
and Ichiban.
what your mom or your grandma packed for you for the week, and then when you get there, you realize that there's only one or two of you in the classroom sometimes, and
Oh gosh,
you're
yeah. Oh, sometimes by
surviving to be that
yourself.
voice.
Sometimes you're there by
Yes.
yourself.
You have to be your own hero in those
Oh,
moments. You have to step up and say, you know what, I got this, I can do this. And I'm not only here as a voice for myself, I'm now representing others in my community and other Native peoples, because that's just how it is. Wherever we go, we become a representation of where we
yes.
come
I
from.
totally believe that too. Absolutely believe in that.
It's almost a responsibility, I would
Yeah,
say. I
yes.
look at it as a responsibility.
Same here. Absolutely. It
So
was
while you're getting an education, you're educating others in the classroom, because there's questions. I know from my experience, there were lots of questions about the great, wonderful, mysterious world of what it's like to live on the reserve,
Oh gosh,
like it's
yes.
planet Jupiter or
Yes.
Mars
Like
or
we lived in
something.
another planet. I know. And it's so scary because it's so unknown.
Yeah. I remember when my mom used to, she went back to school when we were little, and she went on to do her teaching degree, and I would go to class with her too at the time. And I remember her
Such a great role
non-Indigenous.
model. You had such a great role model. You're so blessed, girl. You're so
Thank
blessed.
you.
I love your mom.
Well, whenever I talk about you with her, she just has a big smile, and she always says, "Oh, I just love Jackie, give her a hug for me, and how's Jackie doing?" But I remember she would like get into these deep conversations with her classmates, and she was the only Native student in those classes, and
She was a
you know,
pioneer. She was a pioneer. She was pioneering the way for other Indigenous peoples, right? Role modeling in that
mhm.
way and saying, look, we have the right to be in these places and the right to work with our own people professionally in these capacities rather than having non-Indigenous people in these positions.
Mhm.
And that's
Oh,
that's what she
yes.
taught. She was that pioneer.
Thank you, hand to heart, for saying those
Mm-hmm.
kind words about my mom. And that's what our women do, though. You have women in your family, and we have women in our communities who are doing that, who have done that, and who have shown us how to now do that.
Oh yeah, just like
And
my
that's what's
mom.
important.
Absolutely. My mom, the same thing too.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So, um, while you were, well, what are your habits of success? So when you have a goal and you are looking towards your strategies to ensure that your goal is achieved, what advice would you give others on what steps to take?
The first step is to get started. you know, uh, get started and
So take action.
take action. Yes. It's wonderful to have an idea and to have a
Oh
dream,
gosh, I have too
which
many of
becomes a
those. Too
goal.
many. They're stuck in there. They just kind of have their own little hibernation spot in my brain.
Hey, you can never have too many dreams. However, you have to pick one and focus on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes that means putting others on the back on the shelf and saying, you know what, I will come back to that, or I may or may not come back to that. But right now, this is my focus. And then develop your plan of action. Getting started is doing all of this. So just getting started and envisioning what it is you want to achieve, because we can want to do something, but if we don't know the purpose, there's going to be a lot of things that are not going to make sense to us, and it's going to become unclear, and then unnecessary obstacles arise. However, there will always be obstacles, but if you know what it is you're doing and why you want to do it, purpose and passion, and getting started, and then
And having
leaning on those
supports.
sources of support.
Yes.
Yes, the support is important.
Oh, I
Just
totally agree.
telling a
Totally
friend
agree.
or one of your mentors, this is what I'm going to do, and I've given myself a deadline. And that's what I did with this podcast. I told my circle of support, and then I gave myself a deadline, and once I decided on that deadline, then I told one of my mentors who's been really supportive, and I said, this is the deadline I've given myself to air my first podcast episode.
Good for
And
you.
here we are.
Good for you. It's easy to, especially when it's more something that is about your goal that is solely dependent on only you with your idea. It's so easy to just put it off, not think about it, dream about it, play around with the idea, but put it off and
Hmm.
set it on a back burner because it's basically between you, yourself, and you, right?
Yes.
But good for you. You look at you. You're just like flying like a fox. You're a flying fox.
If they ever make, a character in one of the Marvel movies, that's going to be my name.
Flying fox. Look at her go. That 6 foot fox.
Blackfoot superhero heroine.
She's a giant amongst all foxes. What
But
mistakes?
yeah, it's
Sorry.
it's great to have, like you said, dreams, but just get started. Pick one, focus on that one, decide if it aligns with your purpose and your passion, and go forward with that. And there will be people that will believe in you, and there will be people that may make you second guess, is this what I'm supposed to be doing? But at the end of the day, like you said, Jackie, it's between yourself and yourself, and of course creator, he plays the ultimate role in this if that is what you are meant to do. But I believe that nothing, everything we do has a purpose, even if it leads us to another pathway or somewhere where we didn't expect to be. But just moving forward and getting started, having a plan, leaning on your sources of support.
And sometimes it everything just clicks into place. It's like bam, 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 bam.
Yes.
And I've seen that happen with people. It's happened in my life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's resistance, right? You start out and it's resistance. It's like hard to get past little things sometimes towards your goal. And then once you get past the resistance, then things just flow.
Yes.
And you get there. So it's always different, right? And it's about being able to recognize that each time and just accept it and keep if you're passionate about it and you're determined and you see that it's a need that could work very well in his life, not only for you but for others, then go all in, right? I mean, nothing's easy. Anything worth achieving isn't easy.
Absolutely. Well, you are definitely a woman of resilience and inspiration and incredible drive and ambition. And one of many things I've learned about you in our friendship and sisterhood is when you set your mind to something, you go and do it. For example, your travels, you said you were going to go travel to this place and you went, and you came back and you shared stories, and then you said, I'm going to go here, and you did it. And now you're learning the guitar, which is super exciting. By the way, I heard your Cree woman rendition of Bad Moon Rising yesterday.
I was like, fail.
That was awesome. Oh no, I was like, wow, she's doing it.
I come shameful onto myself when I say I'm going to do something I don't. It's like there's that little tiny inside part of me that there's like this little person inside me, the little shame person, right? It just goes and buries her head in, I don't know, some moose nose soup in there or something to try and make herself feel better about her shame. And Jacqueline, you didn't do it. You said you were going to do this and you didn't do it. Well, I'm going to go eat moose nose soup now.
Hey, at least you hear your voice and you acknowledge your voice, and then your voice kind of, gets you to that, keeps you accountable.
Yeah, exactly.
I think we all have that, but sometimes we ignore it or we argue back with it. All the reasons why we're not doing it. Till your voice either
come out with.
Yes.
I know. Yeah. Right? So I think with that, it's just about the lesson of guarding your words, right? Just guarding your words and really knowing yourself. So this is a point I'm at in my life too, is about the teaching of knowing yourself. Because I heard it in some kind of lecture, I can't remember where. But that has stuck with me. And I just learned those words recently to get to know yourself. So that's a part of it too, right? Is when you're speaking and you're thinking, it's like, why are you thinking these and where are you going with it? And if you're going to say this, are you really going to do it? Or are you just saying it because it sounds good?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of words sound good.
Oh, yes. A lot of bright ideas sound very good until you get started and you realize that, okay, what did I get myself into? Or, man, this is a lot harder than it sounded in my head.
Exactly. It sounded great. You're like, I'll just quietly step away now.
Quietly delete that post or that status that made that wonderful announcement of that great idea. Hopefully nobody saw it.
Thanks, Zuckerberg. It's all your fault. All right. So, what mistakes have you made? Give me one mistake, one major mistake that you feel you made along your journey. Maybe it's internal, maybe it's external.
How much time do we have? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I'm just saying one. I know we all have lots, right?
Because there's a whole list of that.
Oh Lord, we can write books, I'm sure. Volume 353.
First of all, in my culture, we don't look at things as mistakes, but as lessons. So, one lesson, incredibly valuable lesson that I continue to remind myself to keep in mind especially when I'm making decisions or contemplating taking on a new initiative, is not to take on too much on my plate, to add so many things that I can't even see my plate. Not to get greedy here, saying yes to everything and everybody, because that's something that I was really good at doing, especially when I started out as a teacher. You're the newbie and you've got all this energy, enthusiasm, and excitement to start your journey. And people are coming to you, inviting you to be on this committee, or do you want to help me with this project? Or, by the way, Andrea, can you do this?
Oh
And then,
yes,
of course,
yes,
your
of course,
personal
yes, of
commitments.
course, yes,
Yes,
yes, yes.
yes.
Oh yeah, for sure, yes. I'm a girl.
Yes. But I'm going to tell you that is a quick way to burn out yourself. And I did have some burnouts along the way. And then did I learn my lesson immediately? Nope.
I was wondering
Back at
about
it.
you because I was looking at some of these huge projects that you were doing along with a full-time teaching load and your own personal goals. And I'm thinking, what, this girl? She must have some strong Blackfoot magic. Oh my God, I need to go see her medicine man. Wow, I need some of that magic.
Well, I hate to burst your bubble. It really was, the end result of me not being able to say no or not right now. And that's something that I have learned even more so, or I should say I have learned it along the way, but did I actually apply it? I would say that I started to apply that in the last year. So I feel really good. I look at where I was a year ago and, my
You're
experiences
finally
then.
learning balance. And how old are you? How
Well,
many summers are you? Which month were you born in?
let's just say I'm still enjoying the 30 club.
All right, all right. You know what? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. You're still a baby, right? And look at how you've learned this lesson. Good for you. That's great. Some
Thank
people
you.
don't learn it. Like they just constantly pile their plates to overflowing. And I don't know, it just makes me tired looking at them.
Hey, there's an unfollow button for a reason, virtually and in life.
No doubt. No doubt. It's just incredible.
Yeah, just, learning to do less and knowing that I can do more when I do less, ultimately.
So if you had to start all over again, what, if anything, would you do differently? One thing.
I would be more kind to myself because, for me, I'm my biggest critic, and that internal voice can be really helpful, I believe, most of the time. And then there's times where sometimes it's not always helpful, or it's more hindering or hurtful, when you start to criticize yourself too much, or
Yeah.
you're just overanalyzing, your choices and decisions, and trying to replay it in your head of how you could have done it differently, or more importantly, how you could have done it better. It would just be to remind myself just to be kind. Like, if I think of myself when I first started teaching, I'm not going to have it figured out. I'm going to continue to learn as I go. And, it's not going to be perfect. And I'm going to make mistakes along the way, but I'm still going to be okay
Yeah.
no matter what.
Yeah. It's funny because when I started my education, I already knew that. So I wasn't hard on myself in that regard.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, I already knew it.
I think that's one of the most wonderful gifts we can give ourselves.
Oh, totally.
And I see that in you. I do. That's, your laughter is one of your medicines. And I truly see you living that in your life, laughter. There's the moments of, where we may feel sad or softer inside, but you pull that laughter out. You've pulled it out in yourself, and you've pulled it out in everyone around you, including myself. And it really reminds me to just not take life so serious sometimes, or that, we can still laugh on the other side, sometimes after you've had that cry or that frustration.
In Cree teachings, we have what is called the laughing spirit, or maybe it's called the farting spirit. Might be either one of the two. I think they're both the same, right? In my opinion. But I swear to God, this spirit is with me, and just too much stuff that has happened in my life where I'm thinking, okay, something's playing with me here. I know something is totally playing with me here, like seriously. And that will eventually come out in some stories.
I
laughing spirit.
I can't wait.
So when I'm done in this earth path and I go on to the next, it'll be like, high five, that was good, man.
You'll be right in there, bringing that out into the next generation of people to come.
Exactly. It's like, all right, I know what to do now. No kidding. So, here's a series of quick little questions. Who is your most placed music artist on your iPod?
Oh, I think you and I know who.
Yes, I know. But, we have to tell the audience in case they suddenly hear his music playing in the background while you're doing an interview. It'll be like, oh, there Andrea goes again with that. her man.
I like to call him my therapist because he's been through there. He's been there through it all. The good, the sad. Yes. Well, I'll just break it to you, John Mayer.
Confession, I don't listen to much. Don't hate me.
It's okay. We'll change that when we visit again.
Bring it on. And who are your top 3 real life heroes? Real life.
My parents, both my mom and dad. If I wasn't going to be a teacher, I was going to be a social worker. And my niece and nephew. So I'm going to group them in 2s, if that's okay.
There's one.
Yeah. Parents as 1, niece and nephew as 2. They have inspired me. They've really, when I think about my life decisions and choices, I think of them. They're just too beautiful.
They're so lucky to have you. So lucky.
Well, I'm lucky to be their aunt, seriously, because they chose me to be their aunt, and before they came into this world. And they're just 2 of the most kindest, wonderful children I've, happened to have in my life and be family with. And number 3 would be my ancestors, those who've come before me, my grandparents, for all of their resilience and strength and wisdom and knowledge that they have carried to get through the worlds that they went through before my time, and have instilled that strength in me. Those moments where I really need to hang on to that spiritual strength. I think of them, and
Oh, I
and even
totally,
those.
absolutely get that. Absolutely get
Mm-hmm,
it. I mean, looking back at them and the conditions that they lived through, and sometimes that, especially down in southern Alberta, because
mm-hmm,
the land is not really developed, right, and Lethbridge is small,
mm-hmm,
so you get to see the rawness of the land, and many times I would stand on the land and think, imagine living here with
mm-hmm,
a bow and arrow and your moccasins from wildlife, everything just made from scratch, literally,
mm-hmm.
and living a whole life like that. Like, wow,
Oh yeah.
it never fails to blow my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, and it wasn't that long ago, was it?
I know. And to have love, kindness, and gentleness, like me, I'd probably be just a snarly old crabby person, or like, because I'm just tired all the time, right? Look at all this hard work. What the heck? I want to go to the mall or something, It's like
Yeah. Oh yes.
I need to get some shopping going here because scraping this hide is just too much work for me. And these kids, like, whose kids are these? Oh my God, they're all mine. I mean, they have a lot of kids.
Yeah, and no skip the dishes. It's like, okay, we have to prepare a meal,
Apps
and
to
it's going to
order
take us
from, or
all day.
it's like, okay, I feel like listening to some blues right now. Can
Mhm.
you turn up the sound a little bit?
Cue the wind, the howling of the wind and the coyotes.
Exactly. Oh, what will they say to us now?
Oh, I have those moments where when I hear myself just not speaking with gratitude, if you know what I mean. And it's a day where and then I remind myself, I'm like, okay, wait a minute. What would my grandmothers and my grandfathers say to me if they heard me complaining? And man, what am I complaining about?
Oh, no
And like you
kidding.
just
I
said,
know.
you go back to their way of life. It was surviving and thriving in a beautiful way, but everything was work. Everything was work. And today we're so comfortable and with our creature comforts and, you know, yeah.
I know.
So I think of their resiliency and their strength, and that inspires me and reminds me to be grateful for what I do have and
Mhm.
the knowledge and everything they left us with so that we could be here today.
Yes, I feel you. Totally feel you on that one. Okay, final 4 questions. Who's your favorite team?
The Raptors.
Ooh, are you related to my
Yes,
son-in-law?
I think so.
Yeah, you gotta be so related. My son-in-law is Blackfoot too, from your nation. So
Uh-huh.
yeah, Raptors basketball. That's all I
Oh
see
yeah.
him
I
watching on the
mean,
screen, right?
uh-huh. They had it. And I told everybody who doubted me last year, and I just want to say to all the haters out there that the Raptors are still the reigning champs. So, thanks to this epidemic here, this pandemic, they're still the reigning
And
champs.
exactly. Whew, thanks, COVID.
You got to see the good and all the, in the bad
Oh,
out there.
absolutely, absolutely. My grandson, he's Crayfoot, right? Because
Oh
my
yeah.
daughter and his dad, right? And
Yeah.
but he's like, Cookum, I'm getting better at basketball. I'm like, oh, cool.
I love it.
Well,
Now there's someone who already
and,
knows who he is in this
and that was
world.
like a thing as well. I'm sure his dad must be super happy with that.
Yes.
I mean, I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Okay.
And he'll probably be tall,
Oh yes.
just
Oh,
saying.
he is going to be tall. I can already tell. My daughter's tall.
You're
He's
welcome.
tall. It's like, yeah, he's probably going to be 7 feet or something.
Yes, yes.
So what's your
Those
biggest
Blackfoot
fear?
jeans.
Oh yes, yes. Them jeans are pretty tall.
Paired with that Cree humor. Oh yeah, he's got it all.
Oh yes, he's a full package.
No, knowing you, you'll start already taking applications for when he's eligible to date,
Indomitable. Indomitable.
Yes. Nope, nope, nope. Keep swiping.
Exactly. Nope, too small. Nope, too tall. Nope. Oh, I can't hardly wait.
Mhm.
So, what's your biggest fear?
My biggest fear is really just losing any of my people, losing anybody in my family, my friends, people that are close to me, because we all have lost people, that we love and have been close to. And that's something that I think about. And then in turn, though, so that it doesn't turn into this, fear that affects you where you're just clinging on to people, I also, it reminds me to just continue to be grateful for the people that I have in my life and to have gratitude and express that gratitude to them and to say I love you more than I used to, or to make time for the people that are important to you and that are close to you, and make those phone calls instead of just going through text, or sit down with each other and engage and connect and have those real connections. And of course, with this situation we're all in the world right now with this pandemic, physical connection is not an option for those that aren't
For many.
living in the same
For
household as
many.
you.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I know. I didn't
So
get to see my mom for months. I just finally seen her.
that's right. Yes,
Um,
that has to be hard. And yeah, I haven't seen my parents that often because we're all just taking the
precautions.
precautions.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. No, it almost seems like death is a part of our inheritance as Native people, right? Death and
Hmm.
grief and loss. Like it's almost become a part of our DNA, historical DNA, to be born into it now, right?
Hmm. Hmm. I do, however, feel that when my time comes, I'll be reunited with my other family that have already moved on into the spirit world. And
Oh yes,
I that's what
absolutely,
also allows me to be like, okay, this is temporary. When we
exactly.
all get to that place someday,
Yeah,
we'll all be together again
yeah,
because we'll always be connected. That's, like you said, who we are as
absolutely,
Indigenous people.
absolutely. So, what's your guilty pleasure? Come on, spit it
How
out.
much time
And
do
I'll
we
tell.
have?
Just give me one. Just give me one. I know you got lots.
Okay. Right now, I'm trying to pick the best one.
Come on, just one. Your biggest, most favorite guilty pleasure. I mean, it's a thing that you just absolutely love and adore, and you just feel so guilty, but you can't resist. Like it's just you're like jelly. You're like the jellyfish that just floats around and ends up on the shore dead
That's a real beautiful image you have put out there right
because you just totally indulged, you know.
now.
And you're
Okay.
warned. And you're warned, you know.
Wow. You have really upped it all. The stakes have gone up.
Stakes are high here.
I would have to say a really, really delicious meal with all the everything in it. Because I love food,
Food is so
and I
good.
love
Food is so good.
really good bad food.
Oh, yes.
Food that is so good, but it's bad for you.
Yes.
Um,
All the
but
pastries and
over
the
this,
fixings and the toppings and the
yes,
gravies and the
like
cheeses and
meat. I love meat. If I could live on meat like my ancestors, that's what I
so
would live
that's come
on.
from you guys.
Yes.
My grandson, he's a meat eater. Like I suggested going vegan, vegetable
Hmm.
mainly, and he wouldn't talk to me.
Okay, I'm with him on that.
8 years
You
old.
and I can't be
I mean,
friends if
I
you
would bring,
become vegan.
I brought home neck bones one time here. Guess who ate them up? That's the Cree in him. But the Blackfoot, the meat eater, was, just meat. Yeah. But the Cree was like, ooh, neck
Mhm.
bones.
You have to bring some down for me the next time you come down, and this moose nose soup. I need to know more about
I
that.
know I'll be heading up north soon. And I told my mom, I'm going to need some moose nose soup when I go up. And she's like, Nitch, I don't even have any. And I said, well, you better hunt some down, Mom.
Hey, aren't you supposed to be the one bringing your mom
No,
a big
I
old
I
moose
tell her what I want,
But that's a thing. See, that's a thing for us because same thing with my mom. Like, she will cook my favorite meals as soon as she knows I'm coming out there. And it's like, I should be the one cooking. But hey, and when I've tried to cook, us Blackfoot women or us Native women, it's like, it's our kitchen. We're going to cook. We're going to feed everybody and make everybody feel good in their
Well,
tummies.
see,
So,
between me and my mom, we have this silent agreement. We haven't even talked about that's how silent it is. It's like,
okay.
Jacqueline comes around, mom gets whatever she wants, right? And
That's good.
but it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, but Jacqueline wants certain things when she comes around.
Okay. I see how it works.
That moose,
I think we're in the same boat down here. Yeah, me and my
yeah,
mom.
that moose nose soup, it's priority here.
Uh-huh.
Or even wampus, rabbit soup, eating that rabbit.
Yeah.
Oh, duck. Oh, so
Oh,
good. Like, I mean, this is like our caviar.
yes. Oh, yes.
Uh,
Wow. But yeah, I love that. I love meat. Like, if flank is my guilty pleasure, okay? Like, I bought a whole slab of flank several months ago, like back in the fall. And let's just say that there was only me at home. And somehow that flank was devoured.
mm, must have been the fox.
Oh, yes. The fox loves her flank. But I have to say, I can't eat as much meat as I used to be able to and want to because, I have to be careful with that. Today, we have to be careful with that. But for me, like I had to do some changes in my diet within the last year, and I have to be conscientious now of how much meat, especially meat, that I'm putting into my body. So when I
That's
have
what
it,
I'm
I
saying.
really
Meat, you
enjoy
gotta cut
it.
back. That's what I'm saying. You gotta listen to me. Gotta listen to that Cree
Although
woman. Gotta listen to that Cree woman.
even my ancestors are probably like, okay, we did not eat cows. What are you
I
doing?
know,
At
right?
least put the bison in your body.
Yeah, but we adapt. Remember, we adapt. That's what we
Yes,
do as indigenous people.
that's right. That's our superpower, I believe.
Exactly.
Honest to God. Yeah,
So,
yeah, that's our
our final
superpower.
question, and we'll shut her down for
All
your
right.
first episode. What would you change in the world if you could? Anything. What would you change? But before you respond, I just want to say quickly, I would personally just say, just for this moment, COVID, disappear now. Boom, gone.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Yes.
Yeah. And life can go back to where it was before, but with some
Mhm.
changes of obviously people made life changes right now because of COVID. So hopefully the majority of that is positive for people. Time's going to tell, right? So what would you
Oh,
change in
yes.
this world if you had the magic? One thing.
I would change the existence, or I would erase the existence of hate in this world.
Mm.
Because when you think of everything attached to that, such as racism, such as the cruel acts that happen in this
Oh
world,
gosh.
such as everything attached to that.
Oh,
If that was removed, you can imagine what humanity would look
oh
like.
yeah.
No, it wouldn't be perfect. There would still be all the challenges that, come with
And
living and
hate is
existing.
such a powerful emotionally
That,
um like it has like the impact of a bomb, right? It's like
yes.
right?
Yes, it destroys lives.
Oh,
It destroys the
oh,
people who feel that in their heart, and it destroys the people around them. It affects the people around them and the acts that come with acting it out. Like, can you imagine if that didn't exist in the world
oh.
and love alone existed? That would be so incredible,
Yes,
you know?
yes. One day, maybe not in not in our generation or mine or yours, but I pray that in our grandchildren's generation that they will be the
Hmm.
smart ones because they have received the education and looked how ridiculous the adults have been and decide that they'll be the ones to transform that. But you're putting that message out there and it's intention, right? So
Yes,
intention is very powerful.
it is.
So we can live free from hate. I mean, it's not to say that we're not going to be scared or upset or angry, but hate seems to have its own playground altogether.
Yes, it does. And living with intention, it comes back to that. How do we want to live? And how we live is how we set up the life for those that come after us, how they're going to live and how they're going to see life and intentions in this world.
Exactly.
And I think you're doing an incredible job with your family, your children, and your
Oh, thank
grandchildren,
you.
your grandbabies.
It's hard work. It's a lot of self reflection and learning and relearning. I raised my kids, and now it's having to redefine my relationship with them as grown adults and the healing that needs to be done and knowing it, but knowing that they have their own. It's a slippery slope at best, right? And but they know I love them. I'm with
Mm-hmm.
them, and that's always going to remain. And they know that it's solidified, right?
Yes. Oh, yes. Through your everyday life, through your everyday way of living and being.
Yeah, you just live it. You just be it.
Well, I just can't wait to read your book. I am so excited for your book to be finished and shared with the world because my sister, you have a powerful story, and I can't wait to have you back on the show where we're talking about your stories and your book when you have it done. And I know that, this is going to be one of many super enriching, colorful conversations that you and I are going to continue to have. And of course, that we'll be sharing with our listeners.
I'm so honored to have been a part of your beginning. I I feel like I'm wearing this Cree woman rawhide, not rawhide. This wouldn't be rawhide. It would be like a deer hide. Could you imagine rawhide? It'll be like, okay, I can't move. I'm stuck.
You had me at rawhide.
It'll be like frozen
There's that humor.
deer hide. I'm trying to have a real straight face commentary here, and it just got blown out into laughter. No, it's sometimes I feel at a loss for words and in being able to express how I feel or things I see. And this is one of those moments I'm struggling. And oftentimes I find that I'm able to do it more adequately through my writing, as you probably figured out.
Mhm.
You know? And it's welcome, and much success to all your listeners that they can get those drops of sunshine, blasts of sunshine from your podcasts and just change this world. Game changer. Let's do this.
Yeah, we're doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Woo!
One of these podcasts,
I
we'll be
love it.
doing the loud out trill together. We should have a trilling competition, me and you.
Oh, yeah. That's going in the
And
episode
have the listeners
theme
vote
idea.
who did the best trill.
Oh. I see you want to revive that Cree
Mm,
Blackfoot, that whole
Oh yeah.
rivalry.
Yeah.
Okay. It's
Yeah. Of
2020. It's
course.
time to bring some things back from the past.
It's a
And that's a
revival.
great place to
Let's do the
start.
revival.
I love it.
I'll be like,
We're going to do it.
oh, you paid all your votes.
Hey, I think there are more Cree than Blackfoot, so you sort of inherited a whole population,
All I have to do is just tell my family alone, and I'll be like, "Yep,
Oh
winner,
yeah.
winner, winner, chicken dinner."
Oh, I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for doing this with me and helping to introduce the show together, and I am so excited for all of our future conversations, and I'm so excited to continue to watch and witness your journey in this world as a beautiful Cree woman, strong warrior woman, and a teacher to many, and a grandmother, and a daughter, and a friend, and a sister. All those hats that you wear really do inspire me and inspire the people around you, Jacqueline.
Excuse me. I like to call it feathers.
There you go. Yes. Your feather will be arriving via FedEx. Your feather is on its way straight from the Ghana nation.
From the winds of the Kainai people.
I may have wrapped it in saran wrap just so it's COVID free when it arrives.
Exactly. Yeah, let it sit aside for like 2 days at least. 72 hours. I forget how long it is.
Self quarantine that feather before you take it out and show it to the world.
Put it in your hat. I mean your head.
Your purple hair. Hey, I have to ask you, what is your hair color right now? Because you are always doing something super cool with that hair of yours.
Well,
So
I've been wearing the same style for the past few years, and it's gotten me a lot of approval. It's black, purple, and my foundation is my natural silver lights. So
I
I
love it.
mainly have white hair naturally. That's inherited from my family line, the women. And from what I see so far, I'm the only child that has this halo of white at this young age. So I'm special.
Wow. You are. Is that another agreement between you and your mom? When you were a baby,
Yes,
you were going to be the first one,
Mom, yes, I am special. Just letting you know.
and you better give me the silver hair.
Well,
oh, that's so wonderful. We'll definitely have to share that story, maybe on our next conversation episode, where we were snowbound at the same high school together that we worked at, and somehow I ended up leaving the workday with purple hair.
Well, I don't know if there was any Cree influence there, but we could investigate,
Well, I think it's amazing because if I'm correct, a little test to our friendship here, what we know about each other, our favorite color is purple. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, there we go. I knew it. I knew it. You had me at purple,
Sister in arms.
and then
Sister in arms.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, this is great. This is heartwarming, and I believe we're off to a wonderful, beautiful, exciting start to the Talks with the Fox podcast.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jacqueline. Yes, thank you for opening it up with me today.
I am honored. Hi.
Okay, I'm going to give you a virtual hug. Ready? Open your arms. Here we
Wide
go.
open.
And hug.
Okay, got a mouthful of hair there.
Thank you.
Hey.
I just love talking to Jacqueline. Every time her and I get together, it's laughter, sometimes there's tears, and there is always a good story to go home with. Friends like Jackie are truly special. You know that friend that you have, that one that you can just call or text or go sit and have tea with? Well, that's my friend right there. That's Jacqueline. And she always leaves me feeling inspired and empowered. That's the sisterhood, though. You know, us women, when we get together, we have that sisterhood and that friendship, and we can lean into each other when we need to. If you want to learn more about Jacqueline and her daily adventures in the classroom and everywhere she travels, she's been to many places all over the world and with more to come. You can follow her on Instagram at Cree Woman Who Speaks Too Much English, and that's the number 2. Cree Woman Who Speaks Too Much English. You will have a laugh, you will feel inspired, and you'll feel like Jacqueline is that new best friend that you've just met. And she will be making some guest appearances along the way on the podcast Talks with a Fox. So stay tuned for more Andrea and Jacqueline adventures. Speaking of inspirational women, I can't wait to share my conversation with Joy Spear Chief Morris, a highly accomplished athlete and who is also focusing on her academic goals. I certainly felt inspired after we talked, and I know you will when you hear our conversation. So stay tuned for that in episode 2. All right, so that takes us to the end of episode 1 for Talks with a Fox podcast. I'm so glad you could join me today, and I hope that you feel inspired and that you continue to live your dreams and fulfill your purpose, and most of all, share your gifts and know that you are valued and you are appreciated. For more Talks with the Fox inspiration, please follow us, like us, and share our page on Instagram at Talks with the Fox podcast. I hope you have a beautiful day, and thank you for listening. It would mean so much to me if you subscribed, rated, and reviewed this podcast.